Denial, the gap, the goes into it methodology. The Florida real estate market is looking fugly these days, and there's a lot of stuff I got to show you. You don't want to miss this one. Before I dive into the spaghetti bowl of all the Florida real estate issues facing us today, high insurance rates, prices still way up there, surging supply, HOA and assessments are way the heck up there. I want to give you this real quick story that sets the tone of this entire video. Last month, the seller calls and says, come over and give me an assessment on my house price. I came up with $689,000. He came back with $975,000. That is a massive gap, and that's what's happening in today's market. There's three things. Number one, the gap. There's a massive gap between what sellers think and what the actual market is. Number two, the denial phase. It's called the recency bias. They think that the real estate market today is still what it was in 2022. And lastly, I call it the goes into it methodology. Markets don't care a butt ass about what you have into a property. The market only cares what the current value is today. So with that, I'll talk about regular homeowners insurance in just a minute, but first we got to dive right into what's happening with flood insurance. Flood insurance, it has nothing to do with your homeowner's insurance. It's a separate policy. Take a look at these facts I found online for you. As of April 2024, only 18% of Florida homeowners have flood insurance, which is lower than the rest of the country. This is despite Florida having the most flood-prone state in the nation, with coastal areas and severe weather that cause property damage. The average claim payout for flood insurance damage in Florida is $28,900. And here's a fact, just 1 inch of water coming into your house can cause up to $25,000 of damage to your home. That's important information to know. I'll disclose my information. I live less than 1 mile to the beach. I have a flood insurance policy since I bought the home in 2017. I pay $576 per year. That comes out to $48 per month. You need to think about that. Now, this is where it gets really hairy, man. Take a look at this new article that came out by Kiplinger's last month. It talks about the new law that was passed by our governor that goes into effect this October. Take a look. The governor signed into law last week. Home sellers in Florida will now have to disclose information about a property's flood history to prospective buyers. And down below, home sellers must provide flood disclosure to purchasers at the time of contract or before. This new act and policy takes place October 1st of this year. Why is that important? Because if only 18% of homeowners have flood insurance, there's a whole lot of disclosure that you're going to have to come up in just a few months, and that's going to cause a lot of havoc with home buyers. Now, if you've been following my videos for the last year and my free newsletter, down below is a link to that. Sign up and you'll get onto the list. I've been talking about surging supply for the last 10 months, and I'm going to talk about the new updates about that in just a minute. But right now, got to talk about price cuts. So take a look at this. This is from Newsweek. 25% or 1 out of 4 Florida homes are slashing their prices. And down below it says here, out of 224,000 properties listed for sale on online marketplace, 52,469 had price reductions. That's almost 25%. But another article by Newsweek, take a look at what they say here. They give specific examples. So for example, Northport, 52% of listings have price cuts. Tampa, 49% had price cuts. Naples, 46. Palm Bay, 44. And it even goes up in South Carolina talking about 44% of those listings have also had price cuts. Now let's look at what's happening locally. So I had my editor, Anmal, put together these charts that helps understand the actual price drops here in Palm Beach County. Take a look at these charts. The first one is price drops. This is the actual percentage drops in these cities. So for example, Boca Raton, the average price drop is 15%. Boynton Beach, 6.5%. Delray Beach, 13% price drop. Fort Lauderdale, 7%, and so on. And the next chart is similar. This talks about the dollar amount. So you have on the left, the median price drop in Boca, $30,000, and the average, $121,000. Look at Delray Beach. The median price drop is $24,000, and the average price drop, $65,000. So this information comes right from our local MLS. I talk about it in my weekly email all the time. These are real numbers. Now, I still have a lot of things to talk to you about, like the HOA increases and assessments and surging supply. We're gonna get to that in just a second, but this is where I kind of take a break. This is where information gets weird. Take a look at these two charts. The first one is the price correction risk of the top 15 markets. Look at that. All in the southeast of the United States. Majority are in Florida. So they've already been talking basically that we've had huge run-ups here in Florida, and now because of those run-ups, where they have the biggest risk of them to come down? Well, no kidding. Look at the next chart. This one shows how still people are looking for, when Google does trends, more people are looking at Florida as a move-to state than any other state by a mile. It's the only one red there, stands out like an orange thumb. Look at like New York, California, Washington. Nobody's looking at moving there. Everyone's moving here. So if all this demand is still looking to move to Florida and there's all this price reduction, well, hey, if you're a buyer, you've got a great opportunity to get in and buy a house. So earlier I showed you all of the price cuts happening here throughout the state of Florida. You have to ask yourself, why is that happening? Well, because of supply. When supply goes up, prices come down. Take a look at this new chart that my editor, Ann Mall, don't you like her charts, by the way? What she put together. Take a look at this. You have Boca Raton, where April of 2023 versus April 2024, the data is almost the same now. Boca, increase of 40% supply over that period. Boynton Beach up 77. Delray Beach up 83. At the time I'm doing this video, Delray is still up 81%. Fort Lauderdale, increased supply by 50%, and West Palm, supply is up by 44%. Higher supply, prices come down. But here's a chart that you're gonna look at. Shh, nobody has seen this yet, and it's gonna make a big difference. So before I show you this new chart that nobody knows about, I've gotta toot my own horn, because I was writing about the surging supply late last year when mainstream media wasn't even thinking about it. It wasn't even on their radar. Well, guess what? This new chart, they're not talking about, and this is something I'm already writing about, and I think we're ahead of schedule. Take a look at this. This is all about the number of new listings or inventory here in the Delray Beach market. You can see that it peaked. So the surging supply peaked back in March of this year. So March, April, May, and last month, June, it's been flatlining or actually going down. What does that mean? Well, as supply goes down, that means we're going to have stability in pricing. So all of this price drops that we've been seeing for the last 6-7 months, we might slowly start to see that come to an end, as long as this trend of supply goes flat or down. What does that mean? It means that sellers might get the upper hand on this market in the next 2 quarters of this year. Okay, we're finally here to talk about homeowners insurance, not flood. We talked about that earlier. Right now, I can tell you one thing. I've had my house for 7 years. My rate went from $1,600 to $3,500 over the last 7.5 years. There's one word when it comes to homeowners insurance: brutal. It's bad. Take a look at this chart. This shows how red the state of Florida is. It says that most premiums across Florida average between $2,500 and $4,000. That's kind of the mid-central part of Florida where it's red and dark red, but the nasty red down the southern part, they're talking about most premiums are north of $4,000. That is not easy for any homeowner or potential buyer. But you think Florida homeowners insurance is bad? I can't believe it. I thought we were the worst, #1 in all the United States. But this report just came out from S&P Global. Take a look at this chart. In this one, Florida is down near the bottom. We're ranked #7 as the worst increases. Texas is #1 at almost 60% increase over the last 5 years. Colorado, Arizona, Utah, Nebraska, all at 50% or more. So if you think it's bad in Florida, I don't think you want to be moving to those other states. So now it's time we talk about homeowners insurance policies. So why don't you do yourself a favor, go get your best glass of wine, pour yourself 1 or 2 glasses, and sit down and just Google the words Florida HOA or homeownership issues. And you will just scroll and scroll and scroll and read all about the issues facing Florida. Most of you already know them. But here's the deal. This one article by MSN News talked about how some people already put $100,000 into renovating their condominium, and then this year they got a special assessment of $30 million for the building and overall $135,000 for their own individual unit. That's not unusual. I saw one earlier in Boca Raton this year that slapped a $22 million assessment on the building that came out to $190,000 per homeowner. These are nightmare stories. And all that's happening right now because by the end of this year, December 31st, the SIRS Structural Integrity Reserves Study must be funded and completed for all buildings that are 3 stories and older, and most buildings in the state of Florida are built in the 60s and 70s, so they're old. They have a lot of structural issues, whether it's the railings or concrete. Most of them are being torn down right now and put back on, so there's a lot of construction going on and a lot of these special reserves. It's been demoralizing and killing the condo market in Florida because buyers are reading this and they're saying, well, when is the special assessments going to end? We don't know. But one thing that the government has done in Florida, down below I have 2 articles you can look at about all the laws that were passed July 1st of this year. Take a look at those, but take a look at this map right here. This shows you 10 specific laws that went into effect July 1st of this year, and majority of them are pertaining to HOA rules, structural integrity, transparency, management of HOAs and how HOAs are run. It's all over the place. So when you're talking about HOAs, it's probably as big, if not bigger, than the issues about homeowner insurance and home flood insurance. And you know the Florida real estate market is bad when you start to see real estate agents, yes, realtors, panicking and going to their Instagram and Facebook and TikTok accounts and start freaking about what's going on in the real estate market. Look at these top things they're talking about. I see it every day. Homes are not selling. Sellers are not dropping their prices fast enough. Expired listings, now there's an idea, are rising at the fastest pace than they have in 9 years. Days on market is soaring and going out of control, and we need prices to drop even further for our listings to sell. Yes, I'm seeing more and more of that on a daily basis by realtors, and when realtors get upset, you know things are bad. So I go back to that map I showed you earlier about how everyone is Googling move to Florida. It's a landslide. Florida trounces any other state for where people want to move to. It reminds me of when I lived in Southern California in the 80s and 90s. Back then, California was the place to move to. But go back to that map. No longer. It's out of style. People are leaving the state. So I look at Florida and people want to move here even amidst all these issues that the state has. But you and I know one thing. Every bull market, whether it's a stock market or a real estate market, doesn't last forever. Thanks for watching.